Hello, this is Jon Speelman with the video version of my latest column, column 184, which is the last one of 2022, because the next Sunday at the beginning of a month will be on Sunday, January the 1st, 2023. And I'm just going to Alt and Tab and check that I am recording. So we'll have a silly screen for a moment, and I am. Right. So this column is called A Multiplicity of Monarchs. And it arose because I was thinking what to do. I couldn't think what to do. Often I just sort of faff around until a theme comes into my head. And I saw a blitz game between Maxime Vachier-Lagrave and who was he beating? Forgotten who he was he playing Wesley So? He was playing Wesley So, and this game ended up with two queens and a pawn against two queens and a bishop, which was rather exciting. So I thought that's interesting. How often do you have positions which both sides have at least two queens? So I looked in a database. I actually looked in TwickBase, which is the one I tend to use, the Week in Chess base, and I made a database here, many queens. And I think there are about 1,235 here, aren't there? I think TwickBase is about 3.3 million at the moment. So let's just check. That seems to be right. So so that's one out of, I don't know, 2,800 or something, isn't it? Something like that. And I thought that's interesting. So that was far too many to look through, and I started, you can hear church bells, it is today, Sunday the 18th, I'm doing this, and there's a church across the road, so I started doing rating restrictions, and eventually both players had to be 2650 or more, so I will have missed the odd thing, and I got a few of those, and looked for the ones that I liked. And then I also looked for the ones, so the ones I liked, I used the function to put a medal on. So that's got a medal on this one, Magsudlu against MVL. Interestingly, MVL appears in 3 of these. So I put a medal on them so I could find them again. And then I looked for 3 or more, at least one player, and there are actually 13 of these, of which the last 2, I believe, because I did reorder them, have got, or 2 of them have got 3 queens each, one for half a dozen moves. So I'm going to show you these. They're obviously, I thought it's the festive season, so we're used to stuffing ourselves a bit, or people tend to eat too much. And I also thought vaguely about the United Kingdom or Great Britain and the fact that we've had 2 monarchs and 3 prime ministers this year, which is rather excessive. Well, obviously the prime minister's the monarch. Sadly, the queen died. But I mean, and so I thought, well, a multiplicity of monarchs is what I've called it. So let's just have a look at these. So we start with this game of MVL and Wesley So. I'm not going to go through the games. I'm going to get to the diagrams. Here is the diagram. In this position, so it started Queen G5 check. Presumably if Queen D2 something bad happens, does it? I don't know if something bad happens if Queen D2, actually. Maybe Queen A3 check causes an incident. It's so hard to work this out. Let me just ask the engine, because it's not a position for people, is it, at all? Queen E3 loses to Queen A3 check. King D1, Queen G4. I'm just playing the moves. Queen G4 check, King E1, Queen takes E3 check, and Queen G1 check. Okay, there are going to be lots of very strange variations which basically nobody can calculate if they're human. If Queen to there is Queen G1 check, and that's okay, that's the end of that. Okay, so what actually happened was he went King B2, And after queen b4 check, black blundered with king a2. There are so many checks, it's so easy to miss, allowing mate in one move. Bad luck. But king a1 apparently draws because you have a cross check. If queen a5 check, queen a2 is check. So that makes sense. And of course there's a pin against the d pawn, and if queen takes, bishop takes, king, queen checks here, queen checks here is still a draw. That's the only move, of course, because king a2 gets mated in one move. There isn't a stalemate trick at that. Okay, so that's what happened. And then when I asked the engine, it said that queen, either you can play king e8, which unpins, and apparently you can hide in about d8, and then you win because you're attacking with the bishop as well, or you can actually win with checks. You can go queen b5 check, king there, queen there check. So if queen bc2 you play queen a1 check, queen takes queen with check, and queen a2 check. If queen fc2 you play bishop g5 check and queen f1 mate, and the main line goes, no, it doesn't go there. It should go king d2. I should promote that, sorry. I'm not going to do the other games in such detail. Queen here, check, king there, queen there, check, king there, queen there, check, king there, check here, queen takes queen. Okay, well, I mean, you know, this is basically impossible. I would say this is almost impossible for a human being. And so I looked for some more of them, and I got these examples. I'll go into the diagrams. This is rather nice. This has got, and black played queen takes g3 check here, which is rather lovely. Bishop to there check, king f3, king f2. If king f3, you're going to have queen a3 check, queen e3 check. Something bad is going to happen, I suppose. Okay, you're threatening mate. The only thing white can do is to give up one of the queens and start giving checks. But because the queen controls the d file, you can't give very good checks. Check, bishop f1 gets mated, of course, after queen to f2 to h2. That just gets mated. And so he went queen f1, and then black just plays bishop h4. And opposite bishops, when you've got two connected passed pawns, there's no problem. And so he won. This was Johnny Hector losing to Mikhail Krasenkov. So that was one of them. I'm just going to quickly go through them. This is Nick de Fermian losing to Lenio Dominguez. And there they got to here. And, well, there are too many checks, aren't there? You can't play bishop g7 because you just take it and then take the queen at the end. The d1 queen, so you went here, check here. So yeah, if here, takes. The variations tend to add h3 check, and it's going to be mate with queen g5 or queen h4. So that was quite a lot of the, I mean, these are sort of the best of them, I thought. This is Yevgeny Bareyev. They got to this position. He was trying to win, but he had an accident. It's so easy to miss these bloody checks. Queen to there check. And that, of course, is a catastrophe total. It's mate in a couple more moves. So that was that one. What is this? This is Nihar against Malakov. Well, this was quite interesting, yeah. So this is the players continuing for quite a while at this stage. I don't know if you go rook takes queen. Can you try? No, because you got a queen on pre's. Okay. You should have gone queen c to d7. You can't go bishop h5, I think, because of... You've got to be careful. He went bishop e6 anyway, which he thought, this is a blitz game, so God knows. Check there, and then black found knight to there, check, and queen checks, and check, and mate, quite pretty. Some blitz game, Russian-China match blitz. Here's MVL again. This is a famous game, actually. This was from the London Classic, and eventually, after a very, very long ending, they reached this position. And black gave check, many much checks, but white defended himself. Well done, MVL. I mean, I would go stark staring mad trying to analyse this position. I mean, I more or less, I can't imagine the horror of it, being checked by so many queens. Well done him, I have to say. God, what a state. That was that's the second by MVL. Then we got Judah Jubov, a couple of games by Judah as well, I think. And this one ended queen c2 check, queen to there, queen, what happened? Queen dd2, 1-0. I think there'd been some, I think actually earlier, it's probably worth, we should start here really, have a diagram here as well. Because this was a position where white had to give quite a lot of checks to get his queen to a decent square so that he could then promote the pawn. He did g4 check, and then he went here. Now he's got room for the king, and it was all okay. And I don't know, yeah, I'm assuming it's all right. I'm assuming they can analyse these things. That's that. Aronian game. b1 equals queen. That's trying to give stalemate somehow. Queen to there, check. Clever trick, queen to its queen is stalemate, but white brings his king up. Didn't play queen d3, actually went that way, interestingly, in here. There are no more checks, and of course you don't control the a3 point, which is bad luck. And if queen b2 check, and if queen b2 check, you just you interpose with the check. And that's the end of that. So, still more of these, Magsudlu as well, MVL. This is another one of these. Many, many, many checks. God, it's horrible, isn't it? But, I mean, can you imagine having to defend this? The horror of it all, but I mean, again... Oh, is this the same one, the Magsudlu MVL? No, it isn't, is it? There's the Ding MVL and the... Okay, we've got this. And this says that despite... We're now up to 5 queens, I think, for the last... Despite the extra queen, black is dead lost. And he tried this and got mated next move. So that was a bit... Well, I mean, obviously, after you've taken your 2 pawns down, so you are losing, unless you can do something very remarkable. And 2 queens defending on decent squares do defend rather a lot of squares, it has to be said. That was that. And, oh, because I corrected despite, didn't I? This is... This... Colossus. Oh, I don't know what the hell this is. White, of course, has various ways to draw, including queen cc1. This loses, sorry. This loses. That's what it's supposed to say. I said losses or something. So white actually played pawn equals queen, which was a mistake, because after check and here, then black's 2 queens beat white's 3 queens rather quickly. And he resigned because, or he allowed mate, because if king f5, king f5 or king h5, queen g6, you can see it as well as I can. So that was that. And then we got a couple, we're going to get to 3 queens each. Queen c5 check, queen b4, queen a1 mate is quite... so Nadov. I mean, they're quite strong players, these guys. I don't know how... Oh, I think I picked these up because there were 5 queens. So it's irrespective of rating, obviously. This is another one. Oh, this is quite fun, actually. Now he went here and was able to give perpetual check. That's rather splendid. That's Perhaps one of the best one of these, actually. And they agreed to draw by perpetual check. That's rather fun. Two Chinese guys. We got this. Right, I should have a diagram here, shouldn't I? And this is another one. And this is b1 equals queen, king to there, check here. Now I think just queen to there check just gives mate. But unfortunately he went queen e4 check. And the thing is, it becomes very counterintuitive, this position, with so many queens floating around. You might imagine your b8 queen was pinned or something stupid. Just queen b to f4 check wins completely. I was thinking, what do you do here? How do you win? And of course queen to there is mate. The thing is, you lose all perspective, or I do, with so many queens in the board. I can't really do this. But of course it's fun to ask a computer and it will tell you. And what actually happened was that after this, he was able to give perpetual check, which is amusing. And then the final two have 3 queens each. This is absolutely extraordinary, this one, because, okay, they've already got 2 queens on the board at this stage. So, 3 queens each on the board, equal material, a pawn and a knight each. Black actually won a pawn later. I assume he shouldn't have been able to, but who knows. The extraordinary thing is it went on for another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, half, 9, 10 half moves, so 5 moves each. 11, 12 half moves before black started taking things, and they got to a more normal position. And this was later drawn. I mean, okay, it should be drawn nice. I assume it should be drawn. We could stick this to the table base, actually. It must be equal, I think. White black's a bit better, but nothing, yeah. And they drew. So this is very extraordinary. I mean, the fact that they got to this position with 3 queens each, and that then they continued for quite a while. This must be basically unique, I would say. It's the first Saturday IM, is it? Okay. And then Anton Guerrero, who is, of course, a very strong player now, isn't he? This is earlier. And this, I think they ended up... Did they end up again with 3 queens each at some? They can't have done, surely. Oh, yeah, they could have done, maybe. There they are. 3 queens each. And White won this one. Who knows what's going on? I mean, I assume. You can swap many queens, obviously, if you want to, as black. Or as white, rather. And this must be a lot better, but whether it's winning, who knows. What actually happened was that your man went there and allowed queen d5 check, which wasn't very bright. I assume this is probably drawn. I'm going to ask an engine. It says it's winning already, which may well be true. Okay, now I've finished my article. I hope you've enjoyed these. Obviously, they're not very much to do with chess, but it's interesting that people do have them, that there are quite a lot of them, just given the number of games that are played. And they're not little children piling up large numbers of queens on one side in order to give checkmate. They're proper players doing battle to the death. And it shows what a fighting player MVL is. And I think there are 2 by Judah or something. And I had one last question. I have a memory, but I couldn't find it. And I didn't actually have time to ask, say, John Nunn, who would probably know, of a study which ends in mutual Zugzwang with, I think, 3 queens against 3 or 3 queens against 2. I guess it's probably 3 against 2 because it comes from a table base. And I don't think that they have... a 3 queen each table base. They'll have some of them. I mean, they've got some 8-piece table bases, but not that, I think. So if anybody can remember that, please, I'd love to hear from you, either in the comments. I don't know if we'll have comments underneath here or not, or otherwise, please email me. I'm jonathan@jspeelman.co.uk. It says all over different places, and I would love to put this study in next time, I guess. So, Merry Christmas to everybody and a Happy New Year. And I will see you, in fact, on New Year's Day on January the 1st, 2023. So there we are.